My biggest motivation to become an IB teacher, I guess in a previous life, I was an engineer, a civil engineer in the United States. I really liked the problem-solving aspects, and I applied for a job in Morocco and was able to get hired at an international school there, teaching IB. For me, to become an IB teacher, I took a little bit of a roundabout path. I did an undergraduate degree in civil engineering. I have a master's in civil engineering, and then I got a master's in education to become a teacher. And after that, I moved abroad and underwent training before I started teaching IB. The subject of physics that my students are learning, it can start with very, I would say, typical things, mechanics, which is the foundation of physics. And then it can go until things like particle physics, which are very cutting edge. So I think the content that we cover in IB physics is really incredible and offers an exposure to a wide variety of ideas and concepts that I think really enrich the kids' understanding of physics. Well, I think the IB core in general is something that is really important to the IB, with CAS and the extended essay and TOK. And I think, oftentimes maybe parents and students overlook that, but I think as a teacher and a TOK teacher in particular, I see how those are meant to link all their subjects together. In TOK, we talk about how we know things in different areas and how that's so important, how knowledge is gained in different areas, but also how we use that knowledge in different areas. I think the extended essay is a really incredible experience if the student engages with it. It teaches a student how to deal with a really long-term project. It builds research skills, communication skills that I think are pretty unique at a high school level. So I think the soft skills that I see in the students that I have that are really successful, I would say the number one is time management. With having 6 IB classes plus TOK, extended essay, CAS, all these things, students who use their time well are the most successful. And I don't know if it's causal or which direction it goes, but that is a skill that I think is super important in IB, super important in life. I think the idea about being compassionate and open-minded, curious, all those things are skills that I think are vital to becoming successful in the IB, but also in life. In physics, I think I try to get my students to always be looking for examples about what we're talking about. If we're talking about forces and I look, in the train station in Madrid, I see cables being supported by a weight that's applying a tension. So just kind of being aware and being curious. And I think if you're looking for examples, the examples appear all the time. So just kind of being curious, being open-minded and looking for those opportunities, and they'll be there. The best educational experiences that I've had with the IB, twice I've been able to take groups of my students to CERN in Geneva. I'm taking a group of kids this Monday to CERN, and for physics, there's no place better. We get to study particle physics, and that's where things are being discovered. Things are advancing today. It's so current, and it's a really great experience. We have a tour guide who's a physicist at CERN. They get to eat lunch in the cafeteria with the physicists, so they kind of get to see what it's really like, and it's so amazing to be there. To me, success is different for every student. To me, success for every student is that they try their best and that they are meeting and achieving their potential. They may not think that they can do it, but I know that they can, and it's not always easy, but getting there is the success. I think it's really important for an IB student to think about what classes they're going to take going into the DP program. They're going to be with these classes for 2 years, so you should be thinking about what class am I interested in? What am I interested in studying at university? And those two things can really shape what classes you choose. Where do I want to study university? The UK may have different requirements for HLs, for scores you need. The US may have different requirements. So I think talking to your college counselor can be really vital in those decisions. And I would say the same things apply when you're thinking about what subject you want to do your extended essay in. You have to be interested in your extended essay. Otherwise, it's going to be a long, long time where you're not enjoying it. So the more interested in, the more excited you are in the content, the more likely you are to enjoy it, and the more likely you are to be successful in that extended essay. To me, the magic of physics is that it's all around us, and it explains everything that's around us, from the little things, from quarks, electrons, to the universe and everything in between, and how we have rules and laws that can explain how these things are interacting with each other and changing. The magic of theory knowledge is that it is a class that is different than any class these students have ever taken, and I would say maybe the most important. I think today, being able to think about how do we know things, and also be able to form an argument. One thing I really like about TOK is there's no right or wrong answers. TOK is all about presenting a complete argument, and you have to acknowledge that both sides of an argument have valid points. You may come to a conclusion that may be different than somebody else, but you have to realize that both sides of an argument have their own reasons behind that. And I think that that's maybe more important now than ever. Students who study the IB are really exposing themselves to an incredibly well-rounded education, from all the different groups. They get exposed in languages, in arts, sciences, maths. Having the opportunity to be an IB Wave ambassador is something that I thought was great. I think the classes that the IB offers and the experiences can be really powerful for kids. I also think that there's kind of a gap in information and that I think the IB Wave can fill. So the transition into DP can be a big transition for kids, but also for parents. Especially I think parents in an international setting where they don't really know how this can fit into the real world when their kids are applying to university, and how the IB could help them get there. But also I think IB Wave can help support the students and the families in understanding the different aspects of the IB. What does an internal assessment mean in the different subjects? How can a student be successful in those different components? What is paper 1 versus a paper 2? What are skills I need in each of them? In math and physics, how do I use my calculator to enable me to be successful? Little skills that I think can really add up to enrich the journey. IB Wave is a support system to me that offers students and their families some resources that will allow them to be more successful in the IB. It offers tips, it offers answers to questions that they may have when they're going in to the program about choices they may need to make about classes, levels, but also I think it offers them tips and strategies when they get towards the end of the program, when they're looking at taking their exams in May or November. There is an end, and at a certain point they have to be successful on those exams and on their internal assessment. So the better prepared and the more they know about how to be successful in those, I think the better. There was a gap where this information maybe existed on IB websites or something like that, but sometimes it takes somebody who's familiar and experienced through using different IB rubrics, for example, or grading IB exams or TOK essays, and being able to translate that into something that's more of a common language for students and for families. I think the future of the IB is changing. Recently, this month, we're talking about ChatGPT and TOK over and over again. These IA programs that can write essays, can write code. So I think the IB is going to have to adapt. I think education in general has to adapt to technology, and I think the IB is flexible. And I see in chat rooms with other IB teachers strategies on how to deal with these things and ideas about where it's going. You know, the IB physics is changing this year. It's already adapting to it. It's trying to become more collaborative. So I think the IB is trying to be doing a better job at preparing students for the future.